What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. So today I want to talk about the second largest holding in my portfolio, and that holding is Baidu, aka the Google of China. Baidu is currently priced at $114, which is over $100 off of its 52-week high of 274, and it's currently trading at a P ratio of 9.6. So let's get into first Baidu as a company, and then I'll explain kind of why I've been buying shares of Baidu at this price. So Baidu currently owns 58% of iQIYI. iQIYI is the Netflix of China. With that said, iQIYI is still in its early stages, and iQIYI is actually a small position in my portfolio as well. But as I learn more about that company, I will probably add to that position as well. But iQIYI already has 50 million subscribers, and they're looking to hit 80 million by the end of this year, and that's huge when you consider that China has a population of 1.3 billion people, and that the Chinese consumers are still not used to subscription-based memberships and paying for things that way. But as they become more comfortable with that, I can't help but think that more people will start to subscribe to this service. So you have that, and then you have the deal with the government. So the government has banned Google in China. The government has decided that it doesn't want its information on its people, on its citizens' consumer habits to be accessed to an American company like Google. They don't want Chinese people to have all their information at the disposal of companies like Google, Facebook, and things of that nature. So the Chinese government has decided to intervene, and they've decided to endorse Chinese companies. The three main companies that they've decided to endorse are Baidu, Huawei, and Tencent. So the acronym BAT is very similar to FANG in the American economy, where we have Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. They have BAT, Baidu, Huawei, and Tencent. So the government believes that these companies will lead the fourth industrial revolution. The government has committed to these companies. So in a certain sense, Baidu has the green light from the Chinese government to invest heavily into the company and to try to build this company out into a large profitable company sometime in the future. So we have that, and then the last thing is we have the trade war. And I've been watching a lot of videos on CNBC and researching a lot and looking a lot about different analysts and what they think about the trade war. And my conclusion from the trade war is that China is willing to hold out for the long term. If you look at the projected GDP numbers for 2050, China's GDP is estimated to double the American GDP by 2050. China has seen these numbers, the Chinese government has seen these numbers, and they're willing to hold out for the long term. So the tariffs that Donald Trump and the American government are placing on the Chinese companies and Chinese manufacturers today, they're going to hurt China in the short term, and you can see that with the Baidu stock price going down. But in the long term, if China holds out and they start building their own iPhones, they start building their own semiconductors, they roll out 5G before we roll out 5G, their companies are going to be successful. And again, China has a population of 1.3 billion compared to the 330 million Americans and a rapidly growing middle class. So as that happens and Chinese citizens go from lower class to middle class consumers with high incomes, this is really going to boost the profits of companies like Baidu, Huawei, and Tencent. And just a side note, Tencent owns a lot of stake in the company that built Fortnite. So you can already see how Chinese companies have actually started to penetrate back into the United States, whereas at first American companies were penetrating into the Chinese economy. So when you look at all of these things, you see how Baidu has a lot of runway to go in the future. To top it all off, Baidu has a pretty good balance sheet. let me take that back. They have a great balance sheet. In 2018 alone, they produced $4 billion in free cash flow. In addition to that $4 billion produced in free cash flow in 1 year, they have $22 billion in current assets. They have $43 billion in total assets, and they only have $23 billion in total liabilities. So they can afford to use all of their current assets, the money that they have in their pockets right now, to pay off all of their long-term debt. And while they have this money, it doesn't really matter because the Chinese government has already given them the green light. They've already said, hey, Baidu, go ahead and invest in AI, invest in deep learning, invest in self-driving vehicles for China. Don't worry about that sort of thing. We can raise more capital. We'll do a capital raise. You kind of see it with Tesla now, how when Tesla needs money, they just issue out more stock or do something like that, or issue out more bonds, and they keep going. So Baidu has that option, but they don't even have to use that option because their balance sheet is so good, because they have so much free cash flow coming in. And when you look at advertising on search engines and advertising and where that's going, and how advertising's moving from television and billboards and benches to more online search engine based, this free cash flow that Baidu is going to bring in is only going to increase with time. So you have these things, and then again, Google is banned in China. Like, you can't use Google in China, you can't use Facebook in China. So eventually Chinese consumers are going to get used to and get comfortable with using Baidu. Baidu has the inside advantage as far as understanding the culture, understanding the language, understanding what Chinese consumers like, and they're actually gathering just exactly how Google gathers all our information. And then when we go shopping, they advertise the stuff that we were just adding to our cart to us while we're trying to read Spark Notes for our quiz the next class, but we're looking at Neiman Marcus ads of whatever shoe we thought about getting. I mean, Baidu has that same information that Google has on Chinese consumers. And again, the Chinese middle class is growing rapidly, and so that's going to lead to a lot of consumption. And some of that consumption is going to go to another one of my holdings, actually my largest holding, Alibaba, but I'll save that for another day. And then, just to wrap this up, the government is supporting Baidu again, which is allowing them to invest heavily in AI and deep learning, and to continue to build out their Netflix and iQIYI. So when you look at all of these things, and then we go back to the current stock price, where you're getting a really solid technology company, very similar to Google, at a P ratio at 9.6 and a forward P of 18.5, and they have all of this free cash flow, $4 billion in 2018. And if you go back to the previous years, they're producing anywhere between $4 billion to $2 billion in free cash flow a year, and that's looking to increase. So when you look at all of these things, and then you look at the current price, you just can't help but think that you're really getting good value here when you look at the runway that Baidu has. So again, I just want to say that stocks that might be good investments for me might not be good investments for you. We all have different goals, and we're all believers in different things. So I would always say, do your own research, invest in what you believe in, and use what I'm saying as a starting point to do your own research and invest in what you like. With that said, I appreciate you tuning in, checking out the video. You can follow me on Instagram at the 21st Century Robinhood, and as always, Godspeed.